Hello, my name is Dylan Harper, and for this week 6 case study, I decided to do out of Chapter 2, which is tort law and product liability. The case I decided to do was case study 2.3, which was Benjamin versus State. This takes place, Benjamin was an 11-year-old kid, November 16, 1979, and the moral of the story is he was struck by a puck at a hockey game one evening. So him and his brother, they attended Romney Arena, which is governed or owned by the state. It was a doubleheader college hockey game on the campus of State University of New York at Oswego. And they were alleging that the state negligently failed to provide adequate protection for the safety of spectators seated in the arena. And Thomas was seeking compensation for the injury sustained from the puck that he took off the forehead. So just going a little bit about the case. Romney Arena, which is your typical hockey arena, but it was laid out by the state for hockey, consisting of an oblong-shaped rink that ran lengthwise from north to south. It was enclosed by a dasher board that's approximately 3.5 feet in height. Two players' benches were placed along the east side or the east wall of this arena. Elevated spectator bleachers surrounded the remaining of the rink. Obviously, goals were placed at the north and south end of the rink, just typical standard procedures. And then to the rear of each goal and along the sidelines, you have that protective fence, or that basically bulletproof glass is what I like to always call it, that measures about 6 feet and 3 feet in height. That was mounted on top of that dasher board. So that is your basic protective that you'll see at every hockey arena. When they say smacking the glass and things like that, that's that protective that they're thinking. But however, it was not continuous. When it came to the players' benches, a distance of approximately 20 feet, there was no protective fencing that was installed, so there was an area for said puck that could get through from the field of play into the spectators. So now that we get back just kind of what Romney Arena looked like and how it was created, Thomas was accompanied by his brother and his friends. They paid admission for this college doubleheader. They watched the first game. Probably most of the first game, they were seated behind the south goal, behind the protective barrier of the 6-foot glass fence that was put up. Towards the end of the first game, they decided that they needed some concessions, drinks, snacks, what say it. But the concessions at this college arena was looking on the north side of the stadium. So they had to walk all the way to the other side to get this food. So once they got there and got their drinks, they're on their way back. But for the remainder of the first game and for the second game, they decided to watch the game from the sidelines. So they found seats lower down, which was about the second or third row in the bleacher sitting that surrounded the arena. And they were about 15 to 20 feet away from the players' benches. So they were technically seated behind the protective wall, but they were close enough to where the players' benches that weren't protected, they could be in somewhat of danger. And so that's what ultimately happened. While there, during the second game, an errant puck found its way through the open area in front of the players' benches and struck Thomas on the left side of his forehead. The state, which is an owner or occupier of land, is only under a duty to exercise reasonable care under the circumstances to prevent injuries to those who come to watch games played at its facilities. The state provided that it stated that and argues that it was required to only provide protective seating behind the goals where the danger was the greatest. And they were saying that since Thomas and them decided to move seats, they were under the assumption and they assumed the risk that came with being struck by a puck. However, the reasoning is flawed since it undertook to provide spectators with protective seating along the sidelines as well. And also why it was flawed and the court is guided towards Thomas right out of the gate is because a claimant's expert testified to a structural defect. And in his testimony, he stated that it is common practice in any rink in this scenario, or that is like Romney Arena, that it is to protect the full area, which includes all of the seating and behind the players' benches. So absent such protection, it was the usual and customary practice to restrict seating to an area with the zone of danger. So basically, when it came down to it, basically with that testimony, basically solidified the case. They decided to rule in favor of Thomas Benjamin, and he was awarded $24,000 in damages. And once he was taken to or basically diagnosed, he was still feeling pain at home. He was then taken to the Upstate Medical Center in Syracuse, New York, which they did some palpable depression, some x-rays, skull scans, and came back that he had a 4 millimeter depressed skull fracture, superlateral to the left orbit on the frontoparietal bone. So basically, following his discharge, he spent the next 2 weeks in bed, and then after that, he had limited mobility out of bed. He didn't attend school until a month after his discharge, and even when he was in school, he was limited on what activities he could do, especially in gym, and depending on what activities it was, he had to wear a protective helmet. He had difficulty with his equilibrium, and from this injury, he ended up not complaining, but came down and had continued disability symptoms for about a year. After that year was over, he was back to full health, normal, had no pain. The only thing he was left was a 4-inch surgical scar. That's about 2 inches off the left side of his hairline. And like I said, the courts ruled in favor of Thomas Benjamin in giving him $24,000 in compensatory money. Thank you.